Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. We're going to step outside of what we normally talk about for just a minute here, and we're going to talk about shoes. I know I don't talk about shoes very much. I do play with shoes, reselling on occasion. You've seen some on my store. It's one of the few pieces of clothing I still mess with if they're the right high-dollar shoes. Now, I've also done some damage to one of my feet, so it's almost impossible for me to find a pair of shoes that I can wear comfortably. Now, I found a pair. This is a Rockport shoe that I've had, and if you watch like my flea market video or any of those, you can see me wearing these shoes. It's the only pair of shoes that I've found that fits me good and doesn't hurt my foot. Now, I've got some ligament and tendon issues in one of my feet from reselling, so accidents do happen occasionally. But the point of it is, I was going to buy a second pair of these, and I was looking at the label. These were acquired here locally at a shoe carnival. It's a name brand shoe, it's a name brand store, national store, and when I went to look at the label, and let me show you the label here so you'll see what I'm talking about here. Now here's the label. You can see it says Made in China. It looks like an official Rockport label. But when I look closely, there's another label underneath it that looks very generic. It looks like a fake knockoff that says Made in Vietnam. Now that's really troubling considering I've bought this from a name brand store, a national store as well, to Shoe Carnival, and then to find out that the label looks very, very suspicious on these. Now with shoes or any product, you have to state the correct country of origin and creation of the shoe. Obviously, looking at this shoe, they wouldn't have marked Made in Vietnam on it if it wasn't made in Vietnam. So it looks very obviously that someone tried to make it look like a normal Rockport in my book. I've reached out to Rockport. I have not had a response back as of yet. Now, I've looked online. There's tariff issues, so Chinese companies as of now are marking stuff made in Vietnam, sending it to Vietnam so it looks like it's coming from Vietnam, even though it's a Chinese product, to bypass U.S. tariffs. Now, this shoe I've had for a year. Holds up very well. Love the shoe, don't get me wrong. I've ordered another one to see if it's another one that looks like this. But there were some other issues after I looked at it closely that make me wonder, like some imperfections. Now, I would never have thought that there could be a chance in a shoe from Shoe Carnival being fake or a counterfeit. May not be counterfeit, but by U.S. government regulations, you have to have the country of origin. And now I have no idea where this was even made because the Vietnam is the label that's permanent. The government also says the label has to be permanent. And the label that says Made in China comes off very easily, it looks like. So it looks like an afterthought. Very, very troublesome to see this. Why am I bringing this up? I get emails and things like that from people who do FBA and have bought shoes at places like Ross's, as well as Shoe Carnival, Sneaker Circus, and all these other places to resell. Burlington Coat Factory, another one of these. Now, I've had many people tell me that they got dinged and shut down for selling counterfeit goods, even though they bought them from sources like this. My worry now is that the markets are so diluted that there's counterfeits literally everywhere, including name brand stores. If you look online, you'll see all kinds of reports of this thing going on right this very second. Now, again, I have reached out to Rockport. I am waiting on an answer from them. But as I said, people could be getting dinged for counterfeit goods from major stores and retailers. Maybe Rockport may not know this is happening. It's very odd that you'd be able to relabel the place of manufacturer like this. Again, the label underneath, the second label, the original label on this is Vietnam, and it looks very generic. The secondary cheap applied label over that on the tongue here is the one that's Made in China that looks like the official label. Everything else looks pretty good. I can't find this exact pattern on Rockport's site either. There are ones on Amazon. Again, we're going to see what happens when another pair of these shows up. They still fit well. They still work just like they should, but the point is it may not be a real deal. Or it could be like a illegal import, but still a genuine product that has been remarked to be able to sell in a different market. I don't know, but very suspicious and troubling for those who sell shoes doing RA or something like that. I've even had eBay sellers tell me that they've gotten notices that some of their items were fake, even though they had receipts showing that they were purchased from a U.S. department store and things like that. Just looking over the news, I find other issues like this. Was there a tariff issue a year and a half ago maybe when these were shipped to this country and they wanted to make it look like it came from China instead of Vietnam? I don't know, but either way, by the U.S. government's official rules, you can't change the place of origin with another label. So now this again is troublesome for people who resell on platforms like me, whether you do RA and FBA on Amazon or you sell them as an RA item on eBay. You may be selling a counterfeit good even though you bought it from a reputable source. Of course, I didn't buy it from a Rockport-only store or from the Rockport site, but you would hope that a national company that sells shoes would sell an official one. Again, there may be some oddball reasoning that it was relabeled from one country to another, but from what I read on the government's website, you're not supposed to do that, and there is a law against that. So bottom line is you're going to have to be extremely careful if you're RAing for items from even places like this that aren't the main source for these. Little scary that you could get dinged for selling something like this if it turns out to be fake. And as I've said, I've gotten many emails from people who have been booted for selling things that they are sure were legit that ended up being a fake or counterfeit item. Now, I don't know whether Rockport would buy a shoe if they wondered and checked it out first and then reported it to Amazon, or just lock them out. Maybe there's some certified sellers that only are allowed to sell Rockport. Shoe Carnival still shows the same design shoe on their site right now. So, you know, it'd be interesting to know. Maybe this is part of the problem. Maybe they're unofficially relabeled somewhere, and that's setting off some sign at Amazon that you need to be booted for selling something that is determined to be a counterfeit. Maybe it's not. Maybe it was relabeled for a specific reason. But again, why would it say made in Vietnam on a very generic style label underneath, and then have another label that's very cheaply done where it's coming off on top of that label? So not sure what to say on this, but it's something to at least be thinking about when you're reselling. But that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas and some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
My wife wants a car and I want a truck. Our Datsun dealer said you're both in luck with the Datsun King Cab. So unique is it a pickup for a car? Hey, looky here behind the seat. 11.3 cubic feet. Only Datsun makes it this big. King of small pickups, the Datsun King Cab.
I got my car.
I got my truck.
Even when it comes to marriages, Datsun, say